What's up, everybody? I'm here to talk to you about good mornings, a mysterious exercise known as a good morning. Right, so first thing I want to tell you about is why you would do this exercise, yeah? It's probably one of the best ways to improve the strength of your spine, your hips, and to bring up your hamstrings. So what you're going to do, you may know it. With the back nice and neutral and straight, a slight bend of the knee, the objective is, under load, just to stick your butt back and to come down until the tension builds. Now, for somebody like me, I'm a little heavier. I'm an ex-power lifter. My flexibility is not always so great. When I get down close to parallel, I get all this tension in my butt. If I try to go past this point, I start rounding, which is not the best idea. So you may be able to get low with good technique, get parallel. Anything past parallel to the ground is probably excessive, but once you get down to this position, you just reverse the load with that same knee angle, you extend the hips. So it's a pretty simple exercise. It's kind of similar to, if you guys know of RDLs, so you have the bar here. The knees are kept in a pretty consistent angle, and you just stick the butt back and you allow your hands to come right down the thigh, and when the hamstrings get tight, you just reverse it back up. So that's the basic movement. Now you can do it a couple different ways, and you can change the movement starting with the barbell. So I have here a safety squat bar, which some of you may have seen. You grab the handles, you pick the bar up, and it stays nice and stable. The reason why this bar is good for this movement is because it's not going to roll around my back. I'm going to keep my back nice and straight, knees consistent and locked. I'm going to stick my butt back, and I'll come down. I get a lot of tension right about this point. I reverse it back up and stand. I can do it for 5 reps, I can do it for 10, 15, whatever you choose. Can you do it with a regular straight bar? You certainly can, but you have to really do a good job of locking the bar in. So you squeeze hard, you keep it pulled into you, because what's going to happen is that when you bend over, the bar is going to roll forward. When you come up, the bar is going to try to roll back a little bit. So I'd say get a nice good squeeze on it, keep it right where you want it. This, you don't have to worry about it. Another variation for bars, down there, 6 feet, you can catch it. I've got a cambered squat bar, which is actually phenomenal for good mornings. These are special tools. If you don't have them, don't worry about it at all. It's a toy to have. It makes it a little more convenient, a little easier to do, but with a straight old Olympic barbell, you're gonna get just as much benefit out of this. So, the cues. Don't let your back round. If this is as far down as you can get before you start to get tight and round, then I would say, look, just do this range of motion. Let yourself get stronger. Therefore, well, as you get stronger, you'll be able to get a little deeper each time without getting that compromised position. So your mobility will improve. You get a little more comfortable with it. Some variations past just the barbell. You can do a really close stance. Feels pretty good. Let's say I'd probably deadlift about here, so I can certainly do it there to help my deadlift. You can do them a little wider. Maybe put a little more emphasis on your hips. So just, again, nothing changes other than the fact your feet's wide. You go down, you kind of hit your limited range of motion, and you squeeze your hips to raise the bar. You can also do them with 1 foot forward, just a little bit of variation. And that's a good way to do it because you don't have to use so much load. So if you're looking to keep strict form, getting 1 foot back is a way of sort of making yourself stay disciplined. So I'll show you what that looks like. So I pick this bar up, I stagger 1 foot back, I put the weight on the front of the foot. I kind of keep it off the back. And I just bend, let that left side stretch, and I hit it straight up. Feels real nice. Common mistakes? Yeah. So, the first mistake is with the mechanics. This is not an event that you're going to test for your CrossFit competition, or you're not going to see this 1RM in a powerlifting competition. You don't want to focus on the load. If you're trying to be a hot shot and you're coming down and you start bending the knees too much, and you start rounding, and you think you're doing a good morning, you're sacrificing the reason why you're doing this to begin with. What was that? Yeah. So again, if I have too much weight, I'm going to bend too much of the knee, I'm going to round, I'm going to go, ah! Well, you're doing a bad squat at that point. You're not going to help yourself get good. Remember, why are we doing this? To improve the strength of our spine and our hips and our hamstrings. Do that most effectively, most specifically now. Keep our back straight. Stay disciplined. If I start rounding, I'm trying to go too far, I'm gonna stay arched. And use my hips to raise the bar. So, you keep the weight moderate, you keep your form strict. That's gonna allow you to get the most out of this exercise. You can do it a little heavier, but probably not for weightlifting or for improving your Olympic lifts. Why do I say that? If you do this nice and disciplined, what's gonna train is your ability to be strong and patient when you need to be. So if you think about a snatch, for instance, the bar comes off the ground, it stays close, your knees are out of the way, you bring it controlled up to this position, the high hip position where you're gonna explode, right? The problem is a lot of people are impatient or they're not strong enough to hold the right position. So you come up, you get a little low on the hip and you try to go, or you start leaning way too far back and you try to go. Practicing this mechanics allows you to be strong and confident to keep the back angle and to keep the bar in position right where you need it until you're ready to then explode. That's a practical way to do it. Now there is a second way to do good mornings, and I'd say it's probably more useful if you're looking to bring the strength of your deadlift up. So the problem with a deadlift is that you train it too heavy too often, you get a little stale, your back starts getting a little ground down. It's generally not always a good idea, but you can use a good morning in the same way. The mechanics are similar to a deadlift. You know, in a deadlift, you get a little drive off the ground, a little faster at the beginning as compared to a clean. Bar comes up and you're shooting your hips through. So if you do this heavy, you're gonna help train the same motion. So the weight can go a little up, and that's fine. So instead of doing sets of 10 or 15 or 20 reps, you can do sets of 5 heavier, but you don't wanna ever sacrifice that arch. One more variation you can do is you can actually suspend the bar at the bottom. So you can set it on pins, you can put it on jerk boxes. Like I have these safety ropes. So I can set the bar to where I begin down here. So I would get down here with the bar suspended or on a mat or on a set of pins or on a set of boxes. I could arch real hard and basically I could then initiate and do the good morning. So that's the same motion as a deadlift. But the difference is the bar is not in your hand. So you can get a good arch, rise it up, but I can't quite quantify what's different about that other than the fact that you're a little likely to round the lower back. You can keep that good arch. I guess the weight's maybe not so heavy. You're not beating up your hands. You can focus on the back a little more and you don't quite get the wear and tear. So I'd say until you get really good at good morning, stick with the first variations. Keep the weight light, keep the weights or the load or the repetitions rather about 8 or 10 reps. Keep your arch, don't sacrifice your position to get deeper, and don't sacrifice what you're trying to get out of the exercise for the sake of putting more load on the bar. Keep it light, keep it strict, get comfortable, then introduce some variation. That's good mornings, man.